All right, welcome back to another week of fun. And if we pull off today, we'll have 5 weeks in a row 100% accurate on our call-outs. That feels pretty good. And again, we do tend to focus on the easy charts, so we make it look easy. It really is. We just trade the stuff that's easy, though. So we have Howard Greenberg joining us today. It's been a party. We've been going on about a few crypto things moving around and some fun stuff happening in the backgrounds. And maybe even a possible couple ETF interesting things to talk about. So how's everybody doing today? We got Matthew with us, of course. Welcome him back.
Thanks for having me.
And I got to say, I always appreciate you guys being able to help out with this stuff. And, being here doing this stuff, helping other people is like just, that's what I love most about it, is that we can help others understand how to look at charts in a way that keeps them sane, so to speak, making better decisions on trade entries and exits. And even investors can really take on a lot from this. So, we got two professionals in the room, and I'm the self-proclaimed professional, I guess. And we just get along great. It's fun. And occasionally we can rip on Kramer. In fact, I'm going to say shame on Kramer for mentioning Apple. You bum. What are you doing? I had a great position going until you spoke. That's all right. I adjusted. Anyway, we got a couple things you guys are interested in this week, and then I got a couple follow-ups to go on from the Tuesday show that I did with. I had one of our members, Marzidi, fill in for us, and that dude's awesome. He's a man after my own heart too, and he enjoys nerding out on this stuff. So I hooked him up. We got on here and had a blast. So I think Howard, you were mentioning this BTDR, and it's starting to break out. It's a little high and tight for a day trader point of view.
Wait, starting to break out?
Yeah, although telling you on a 3-minute chart looks nice here. If it can break across that 24 area, you're going to see it break out again. But I'd more be playing a mean reversion here on this one.
It's got a couple of gosh, that parabolic trend is psycho. It's got a couple of little setups here on the 1-minute chart I can pick off real quick. I always love seeing these rounding tops. Everybody else likes to short them. I don't. I wait for them to break range, and I just look left. Where's the first big bar? Right here. Range bar A, range bar B is the rest of this guy, and we're holding in the middle of it. So stick a line there and be all right. Within range, you're okay. Break out of this range, and we take a whole long leg up. Measured moves are easy to spot.
Absolutely.
I like this one. It's a good day trade setup. I might just scalp this. And then we had a couple of things poking up at us in the nuclear sector, kind of getting hot again all of a sudden for some reason.
Well, DJT this morning at the open of the New York Stock Exchange talked about, the need that we're going to be the leader in electricity, and SMR and some of those are going to be the answer, I think, there.
SMR, man, I mean, that was, we were way ahead of this. We got into that. This is basically what we'd expect for all the profit taking, all the capitalization into this. Reversion target's pretty easy to spot. Now we're looking for, can we trend here? And we're right at the limit on where we're going to make that decision real quick on the daily. Look left on the weekly, though. This isn't rocket science when you can find measured moves this quick. And it did tick that bar and come right back. So this is a spot where if it's going to keep trending, it's going to keep popping right up on that. But again,
NNE and Oklo were pretty much the same as well.
Yeah.
They all kind of are having the same move on this.
And we got to wonder. I mean, this is right at the pivotal point where it can trend higher. This particular one hasn't done the whole market structure thing where it just has that massive peak, the sell-off, and then the accumulation forever. This one's pretty much fresh out the gate still. So it's still in that long-term, let's swing it higher type of move. But I don't know, man. This is pretty parabolic. Should we be getting into this or wait for this range to break? I'm thinking we wait maybe a day or two and see if this range starts to break out and trend. But that's just me. Let me look at OKLO real quick. I haven't looked at Lightbridge in a while yet either. Whoops, I just dragged my box. Yeah, same thing. Just rounding over, waiting for this to drop a trend or not. With OKLO, again, I mean, we had this monumental sidewaysness, big spike. Market structure did its thing kind of here, and then we go parabolic for a while. So going to be interesting for sure. The other thing is, like, we can start, piling into nuclear, but it does take about 10 years to get that infrastructure really up and running. So how long do we scalp the hype until then? And then what happens when money starts getting spent building these big nuclear facilities? Does that start tripping over for capitalization after this incredible hype wave? That's what we got to wonder. We can trade it.
That's also why you want nat gas.
Exactly, and that's where we're going with that. And then what was that one you mentioned on natural gas? Was it Iowa? No, that was
AR and EQT are my favorite. They both
AR.
kind of look the same.
Here we go. And I didn't even look at AR when we got on the natural gas theory or natural gas theme, really, but it's starting to make sense. See if I can put some dope on this chart finally. That's just a big old wedge. We're above it. Look for reversion. So we're looking for a revisit of the previous high, about 36.30. And then
very well.
Yeah.
Once we trend beyond this angular, it's a pretty good shot. Let's see what the short term looks like. That would build us a measured move, and short term target would be about half that, so about 34.80 or so, just kind of eyeballing it. I like it, and if we break out, that puts us above the previous resistance, and then we can finish the trend. Cool beans, man. That's a good chart. And then EQT. This thing was fun.
They both look the same.
I like EQT a little more than AR myself, but that's just me. I
usually do also.
I just like the amount of range it has comparatively.
It's also less noisy.
True. It's a lot smoother. And it made our target and then some, came right back. Now we're up against it for resistance, so we're right in the ballpark. If we start to explode here, we get a full-on 2-for-1. Let's mark that out. Where's that target going to be? I've been on a purple kick for my default color lately, and it really pops on this black background. I love it. And then I'll change it back to gray so we don't blind everybody. So if we get a full MM out of this whole trend here, I mean, that's putting us up here in a 53.50 range. That's pretty psycho. Let's go with half of that and see where we get into a much more respectable number. So about 49.50 or so. Cool. Break the range. Run the trend. I'm liking this one. It's pretty bullish. And then we were also looking at miners, and GDX was a great play. This is one that Marziti brought to my attention this week on Tuesday's show. And you're kind of in the favor for miners too. And not necessarily the textbook double bottom reversal here, but it's done its thing where we get the measured move out, and we still haven't met that reversion target up here at 40.20, but it's still trending. So we got a pretty good shot of holding support here after this little test of support, and then run back up. Natural gas is definitely cooking. No pun intended. Then there's the whole AI thing. So Google's kind of almost like a boring company to trade anymore for us, but we get a couple things attached out of it, and then we start looking at stuff like you were talking about IONQ there.
Well, see, now that's quantum. So what happened with Google is they kind of shocked everybody with some news on quantum computing. And like nuclear, it's far off, but I mean, it's got the ability to be more impactful than AI.
Right.
Right. The Internet of Things is going to need quantum computing down the road.
And
all of these communications.
Last we looked at the weekly, we noticed, the giant cup on the cup and handle, the accumulation zone's done. It finally broke out. Kind of, I took it off my radar and I missed that move, but we're well above the upper range target we printed out here way back at 193.03. And I almost wonder if this is going to give us an accumulation here and then continue cooking, as the way off target would be about 215, 220 even. That's some big moves, and this is a weekly chart worth of dope on there, but it seems reasonable if this thing continues. Let me go to the 2-hour chart. This period, we're like already setting up wave 2 in the flag here to come back and test that support at 193. So we'll watch for a flag here. If we end up with something like this, give us a nice little compression here, we could cook off, and this becomes a primary, and it puts us right into those halfway to the target range. I like Google, and then go into IONQ, perfect reversion. It damn near hit it yesterday or this morning. So lots of strength there. People are definitely interested.
Well, in IONQ is interesting because they should be, so we're actually trying to put together a good quantum ETF. There's a quantum ETF out there that sucks. IONQ should be, a first order quantum company. They sold off on the Google news, which, I bought the dip, but I do wonder, why they sold off on it. So we'll see. But I did buy it yesterday on that dip.
Nice move. I mean, that was a perfect move to support, right down to that 27.97 is where I had it. We're looking in the comment section here. Yeah, I think Tesla is literally trying to go to Mars. That's one. And an interesting point here, NVIDIA came out with a groundbreaking image generator that works on the CPU only with 4K resolution. That means that their GPUs can do more. An interesting point, and NVIDIA certainly cooked off pretty quick yesterday and the day before, and we just keep on rolling with it. Let me get this out real quick here. And you compare that to the whole AI thing, and it's like, well, now we've got NVIDIA ready to jump on that with being able to provide the hardware. The rest of the move can be pretty much amplified by that. So I kind of like the idea of getting long on that stuff. And I love the diamond pattern on NVIDIA right now. I'm just like waiting for that sucker to break. One more test of support. I think it's going to just start cracking off, blast through that 147.60 target we had earlier, and rip. They're in position. They just needed to make the move. And then kind of along the side with all this stuff, crypto's going nuts. And then we've got some other crypto stuff to look at as well. So let me get this in here real quick. I missed that ticker for crypto. I forgot to put it in the list. But you had one up there, Howard.
Yeah. I'm not sure which one. Render, RNDR.
And we talked about that one, and then
because that stays along your GPU and
right.
Shared computing. RNDR Render is a partner with Apple. Does a lot of work on shared GPU computing. So you have all these NVIDIA chips that are out there already. People able to use them, especially data centers, to share their GPU computing with people. Especially used a lot in the world of gaming and in movies.
Okay.
So you're going to see a lot more there. Besides that, I was talking about Chainlink, LINK, up about 17% today. That's oracles, so they allow for information that's not on the blockchain or not blockchain native to be brought in. So pricing, you'll need it, especially in the world of DeFi. It comes in a lot. That's and it's also one that's going to benefit. It's a U.S.-based company, and under the Trump administration, the talk is that Eric Trump talked about it yesterday at a conference, that not only will Bitcoin be exempt from capital gains taxes, but watch for American-backed cryptocurrency companies. So Chainlink, Uniswap, Aave are three big ones that I would be watching there. For that, Aave is lending and borrowing. Made a huge run up during the DeFi explosion, sort of cooled off. But they work a lot. I mean, they're the guys that are out there in TradFi doing DeFi for the likes of your Jump Capitals and BlackRock and so forth. They provide a closed infrastructure where they allow them to trade amongst themselves, lend out and borrow their crypto holdings.
That makes it. And then you said the key word there. So exempting crypto from
capital gains
tax.
Trump yesterday talked about it again.
Man, that's a dream. Can it happen?
You're talking to a guy that's been in crypto since 2011. Yes, it would be.
I love scalping the moves on crypto. I love trading it. It's just I kind of switched to doing like ETFs and related companies because I got sick of chasing all my tax paperwork because I do my own taxes, and man, that was a headache.
It definitely makes it complicated. It would change the game when it comes to that for sure.
Yeah.
You'll see all the meme coin guys will move right into that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, in a heartbeat. I mean, I could see like entire portfolio switching over to that if it's exempt from capital gains. Hello. And the volatility is still going to be there because everybody's going to be running this thing up and down until it eventually stabilizes and becomes a feasible, currency that you can actually use.
Yeah, and the other part that you've seen is like the CEO of Charles Schwab came out and said as soon as a little bit more regulatory clarity comes out of the new administration, look for Schwab to add crypto trading services. You're going to see the legacy companies move in more and more. People aren't going to watch BlackRock do it alone.
Right. So like, one's going to be physical property, the other one's going to be more, currency. Makes sense. And then we get into other stuff, and I was kind of in that PayPal position we're still in. And I got to wonder how this will affect transactors, and then go into Square and SoFi and a couple others that are related in transacting side of it. And then there was that little company you mentioned to me, the Bit Farms.
The ITF.
That I'm currently at like an 80. What am I at? 84 cents, 83 cent cost basis on that one.
That's great from under $2 or so. Yeah, I told you that's when the wheel for sure works.
And I'm getting towards the end of week 5. I think I'm not quite sure I'm going to own it for free by week 6, but I'm going to be damn close. So that was a great call out on that one, and it's got just the perfect amount of volume, even though it's a 5% wide bid ask spread on that one. It's an easy wheel trade. Sure. And if you
say too, your PayPal trade, another more fundamental thing there is the new SEC commissioner is part of what was the PayPal mafia, right? He was part of, along with Peter Thiel and Elon, the founders of PayPal. David Sachs, very pro crypto, SEC chairman coming in.
And I think that's going to be more than just a hype wave pushing it through, the end of market structure where we typically will look for that trend. That trend is underway. All it needs to do is step up, break to that $100 bill, and keep moving. And
the big play with a lot of these Bitcoin miners is, keep in mind, is they built data centers where the cheapest electricity was when nobody else sort of was chasing it. Now everybody's chasing that. So, they're selling off space adjacent to their facilities and building out data centers for the Microsofts and Apples, the hyperscalers.
It's funny you should mention that, because like when I was living in Missoula there, literally my next door neighbor moved to Missoula to work for a Bitcoin farming company that was given some pretty nice incentives to build there, and all they had to do was invest a little bit in hydroelectric, and poof, they're in the door and doing very well. I don't remember the name of the company. It was privately held then. It probably still is, but man, I'm sure it's exactly what everyone else is kind of going for.
And what they did is they bought up long-term energy contracts, so they own the energy from a lot of these places that weren't attached to the grid. Texas, West Texas especially, where they have solar farms and wind farms that just couldn't be utilized. So they built out their Bitcoin farming right there. That's what MicroStrategy's working with Tesla and Square on, with the Dorsey, Saylor, and Elon. Tesla batteries for their solar there. That's going to be a big one.
And SQ, I mean, it ran right on through that previous target I had at $89. That was a killer trade for me, and that's another one of those YOLOs, man. Once in a while, those things just absolutely kill it. Now I'm looking further down the road, and I'm wondering, possibly looking at some leaps on SQ running for the 142 target, maybe go into June and start looking for some spreads in there. That's my next move, I think, once this settles in this area. It's got to accumulate and hold above that LZ here, which is right at the top of the market structure zone, so...
Looks like it wants to go sideways for a bit.
I think so. But it'll give me an opportunity to dumb down that implied volatility surge that you get on leaps, and then eventually it'll provide just a sweet entry for those spreads, and I'll just start rocking them in. I think that's a good play. My Alexa just answered me for some reason. It knows something.
To enhance the flavor or texture of the food,
He's talking about food. Anyway, looking left on market structure for SQ, it's just absolutely set up exactly for what we'd love to see on every other market structure play we've made. It's just perfect. I mean, what more could you ask for in a market structure chart? And then you go into things like, where was it? We were looking at Amazon, I think it was, when we're looking for the way back when, when you start seeing the market structure do its thing. Gosh, this would have been back when it IPO'd. You can't see it on these candles, but that's exactly what we did. We just slowly trended, came out. What if SQ becomes? I don't think it's not going to be Amazon huge, but eventually it's going to be huge, I think. And then along with PayPal, we'll start to get back into the move of things. And then we'll have to look at things like the lending side of that, where you get into like SoFi and a couple of the other disruptors in that sector. And then we've always kind of been on the big banks, and the regional banks are just all over the damn place. What do we see in the long term, like way down the road, on some of these smaller transactors? I mean, do we see them becoming in the credit business more, or in the let's just stick to making money on validating everybody's transactions?
So are you talking about like the payment processors, or are you talking about regional banks?
Kind of payment processors taking away some of the liquidity from regional banks and credit lenders, more or less.
Yeah, because I'm there's a reason we did an inverse regional bank ETF.
Exactly.
I'm a big believer that they've got landmines on their balance sheets.
Oh yeah.
And because you can transfer money in a heartbeat,
Yeah.
I think those guys are going to have a problem.
And then
I would say that those PayPal and Square are going to have an advantage when it comes to that connection that's coming, as we see more and more intersection between digital payments, and they're definitely in the lead when it comes to that type of world. And the legacy banks, they have to build out those systems. They don't have them. They use older legacy systems, your Wells Fargo's and that. It isn't easy. There's not a quick move to catch up. There's a little bit of a moat there.
And you look at some of the things they do, and it's an innovative. Like when PayPal came out with that pay in 4 thing. I mean, that's huge for the consumer who's like just slugged down with high interest debt on the other side of their paycheck.
Yeah,
they can go in.
RM in that world. The firm is the leader in pay now. Buy now, pay later.
Absolutely,
skyrocketed.
Yep, and that's where you get into some of the other stuff that disrupts everything. I mean, this thing hasn't even done any market structure. It's just brilliant, and it keeps on ripping. And then I was putting Amazon in the spotlight there. It met all of our targets and stuff, but like, where does a lot of this money end up? Bezos's pocket, So you kind of got that and like Walmart, and now you've got leverage to take some of the money that the transactors would make as far as regional banks and stuff goes. Some of that liquidity ends up going to the other guys, and then it brings the consumer a little bit more power to go and make purchases. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is
it doesn't have to pay for branches,
right?
They don't have all those physical locations that cost money and the employees that you put in them.
Exactly. And that's the brilliant part. It functions on its own, and it kind of follows the Elon concept. Eventually, robots are going to take all the physical manufacturing jobs. Same concept, just a different sector. Everything becomes automated. Is the consumer worried that robots are going to be taking over the world? Well, some of them. I mean, there's so many jobs that can be done by robots, whatever. But it's just a matter of adapt and overcome, guys. Eventually there's going to be no end of work, believe me. And that's why I kind of took a peek at hospitalities and service industry, and I was just like, that kind of makes sense in the long distance future. That could be kind of where everybody ends up working, because when you're dealing with customer service particularly, you hate dealing with robots, you hate dealing with AI on a phone. You'd rather talk to an individual, and eventually it just kind of balances. Everybody stays working and everybody stays consuming. It's all a happy big circle. So
yeah,
and then it's kind of odd that we can sit here and just look at charts and scalp that stuff. So we can do this for a living, and eventually robots might replace us.
Quant trading, it is a big part of the world, as Matthew can tell you from his world.
Not might. AI will replace us at some point.
Absolutely. And that's kind of fun because like I like to scalp markets on days like today. Even like when I was trading QQQ this morning with the group, it was pretty easy to just literally spot what all the algos were doing and take moves one after another. Even in the choppy stuff, we were killing it. And this whole thing here was just easy to map. This was garbage to everyone, and we scalped it. So the more and more automation takes over, the easier the market will be to trade. I think, in my opinion, that's what I'm seeing in the chart live, like for so many months now. It just seems that whenever the algos are in control, the trading's easier. It's crazy. Most people would be afraid to even try.
They amplify everything.
Exactly. And then we just trade the range and scalp, rinse, repeat. We're back in when I first started trading futures, I started scalping like little 3 and 4 point moves on the ES and NQ. Now I'm able to spot ranges where I can take minimum 8-10 points. And hell, yesterday I had a trade. It was like my longest futures trade ever. It was like 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I took 235 points or something like that. Easy trade. I couldn't believe how easy it was yesterday. It was just literally wait for the market to get right up to the opening bell, and as soon as this broke out of this range, it was just easy. Leave a long on until it stops, and even sat through this crap, and I knew where the liquidity zone was, and I knew where the pivot zones were, and the algos just exactly magically moved it to it. It's insane. I ended up taking profit after the breakover, and just closed it right in. It might have been this breakover. Closed it right in the halfback on this, and then it ran back up the top of that. So it was just an easy market yesterday, and like I said, anytime the algos take over things just get easy where most people wouldn't see it as easy. So you get into what if the ETFs were all being traded by algos? I mean, even the leveraged ones. That's my big question is how easy does that make it for day traders? And we're made for that. So I welcome the robot revolution. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it like you said, the algorithms, they tend to work in tandem together. They tend to add to their position. You can sort of see them. What I love is obviously it's made VWAP trading a lot easier, right? That's what everybody's using because that's what they're using.
Right.
So you definitely see that component coming in without a doubt.
Yeah, just scalp the range, rinse, repeat, scalp the range, rinse, repeat. That's all they're going to do. And anytime, ordinarily this would be really wicky when it becomes choppy like this. No, these were solid bars. They were solid moves, solid, easy, half back, rinse, repeat, measure, move up, measure, move down, stay in a range over and over and over again. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I've been noticing a little thing in the crypto markets is if you watch the ETFs in the morning and see if they're playing catch up.
Right.
And what I mean there is the ETFs in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've seen some days where they're up 1.5%, 2% Bitcoin, maybe even flat on the 24-hour chart. And what they've done is you've seen a huge move up by Bitcoin following it. So I don't know, maybe Matthew, you could speak a little more about how the ETFs buy their stuff, but it just seems that has been the case. And I don't know if it's just a coincidence or there's not enough room to back test it yet,
Yeah, I mean, there could be something there, like the IBITs of the world. I mean, they own Bitcoin and it's sitting there and you can't trade, IBIT until, 4 a.m. when the pre-market's open. So, there's got to be some catch up. And, and it's doubtful that the market makers don't know what it should be, but
Yeah, I just always look for these things. For years I traded the Coinbase versus Binance price, and not really in an arbitrage way, but I could tell where the market was moving because the Western Hemisphere traded with Coinbase and Asia trades with Binance, and you could see the difference in the price at different times of the day was going to sort of giving you some directionality, especially because Coinbase had all of the institutional money coming in where there's none going through Binance, so you could see where the smart money was going.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is if there is something there, it'll get arbed away pretty quickly.
Yeah. As soon
I
as
mean,
I figure it out, it'll be
calls.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say there is a big arbitrage market people don't know about with XRP that's out there right now. There's been a huge spreads across the globe on XRP, and people are taking advantage because of how quickly the blockchain moves. Something that's kind of interesting also there that I've definitely been taking advantage of over the last month or so.
Yeah.
Pretty quick 10% scalps there. Just buy on one, move it to the other, sell it there.
Nice.
I was going to mention your BTCL there. I mean, that is, it's not the volume I'd love to see. So, like, the options chain isn't great for me to trade, but I've been trading equity on it.
There. We're up to 45 million in there. Just had dinner with a group that wants to try to help us get to $1 billion. So could be interesting. Keep an eye. I own calls on it personally.
I've been running some flow on it. I've been just trading the equity and just scalping, as I can. If I get bored in the middle of the day, it's like that. Yesterday's midday swing was perfect. It was just buy 54, sell 59. But it was at a point where like I was considering running a binary wheel trade on this, where I was running long on both BTCL and BTCZ, and it ended up giving me a bit of an issue because it faded to the point where I couldn't keep ahead of my target, which is like at least 10% return on net margin yield for selling calls and puts to open. Yeah. If I can't quite make that, I'll put my capital into something that will. But at this point, I think if I can wait a little longer, this will probably end up at an average range where I could just do one instead of trying to trade a binary and keep a neutral risk and try and generate premium income. Once all the options are typically going to be on the bullish side of the ETF screen rather than the bearish, I'm going to start just looking at, I can just wheel trade the one and probably meet that yield target and be happy. So I'm keeping an eye on this.
You're splitting on MSTU already?
Oh,
we are splitting on MSTU. Yes,
I did see that. I've been trading it a lot. I like it.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I mean,
I saw that. I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? We already got a split.
We want to keep the price
bring more people in.
Yeah, we want to keep the price low, and we have to reverse split MSTZ,
right?
Because that's at 88 cents right now. It's a penny stock.
Yeah, I love it. I think all the movement you've had there has been just so impressive. I mean, you hit that at the perfect time, man.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Definitely kept you busy, but you reaped some serious rewards off that work, man.
Oh yeah. So far so good. It looks like it's stabilizing too, which is good.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of a variance, but it looks like it cleared right up. You guys got to figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, it just got to dial in the options exposure.
And the options chain was insane on that thing. As far as God, I mean, in that just massive move, I could have scalped a ton of premium on that, but it got out of my comfort zone, and I had to just trade the equity. But now it's getting to a point where I might go back into the option swing in this thing. So.
I've noticed volume skew on all, not just yours, but on a lot of those crypto stocks. The mining stocks too has just been insane, and just people just picking numbers and buying, and it's just causing this volume skew across it.
When you're a sell to open kind of guy, that makes your payday. But yeah, it's like you said, when you get that skew in there, all of a sudden windows come ripping back down and everybody panics. Then you get chasing, and it's just insane how fast that can take the implied volatility from relatively low number to a relatively high number.
Well, and then look at, if you want to see something interesting, look at the rise and then the collapse on MicroStrategy, implied volatility.
Yeah.
I mean, when it like tripled in a week, all of Wall Street had to hedge.
Yeah.
All at the same time, and the implied vol just went through the roof.
Yeah, it's just, they have no choice but to hedge that delta, and it's insane. What a squeeze. Yeah, I missed out on that, but I need to get back and reevaluate, because this thing's not over. I think this is going to really continue to be interesting.
And unfortunately, I was on the wrong side of it because I had to be buying calls.
Yeah, you had the hedge delta.
Yeah, you got to buy. You don't want to be buying premiums then. Yeah.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I mean, the way the structure works, you focus on going with the swaps first, and then if you have to go into the option side, you go into the option side.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of forced your hand, and that gets to be a lot of work. I know you were like hard to get a hold of for a few weeks straight there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I mean, maybe a little bit going forward. We'll see.
That's a good thing to have that problem, sir.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not complaining.
Nope, no one would listen, especially not me.
Especially
I am, but no one cares.
Oh man. So yeah, I think consolidate, and we get one more support test here about 153.20, and we should see if this holds support right in that range, we should see a nice little move back to like 198 on this one, I would assume, and then if we break it, sure, we can go back and test support down here again, 126. But this thing's been just a doll to trade, and you get into day trading it, and it's just like I've been just sticking on the equity side until I can get back in shape for running options on it, because I want to do sell to open on this one particularly, because God, those paydays when it squeezes, it's just insane. I could have made a killing on that. I missed the boat, but it'll come back. We always.
I think you're going to see MicroStrategy calm down. It's starting to consolidate in this area at that 400 level. It's just because Bitcoin's going to make another move.
Oh, of course.
Not today, not tomorrow, maybe, but it's definitely held up. We've moved. If you've been watching, the liquidations, as I talked to you about already, Jeremy, it's pushed down. It's done its thing. That it cleared out the perps. When it cleared out the perps, it only went to 92, and then within 15 minutes was back at 98. So there's too many buy the dip people right now. It does worry me when Michael Saylor's buying it all.
Yeah.
I can tell you from 2020, that's not necessarily a great thing. Because when he stops buying eventually, that's where we see the pullback. So that's the only thing to keep in mind is, but one of the big fears was that, the perps out there, the futures in the crypto world where people are doing 100x, bets, it can move that needle, and it didn't. It took it down to 92 and it was back at 98 less than an hour later.
It absorbs so fast, and it's crazy how resilient it is at doing that. But it's
but I was one of those people who was calling for 80 after 100, and
right.
Not anymore. Not after what I saw with the perp, because I was waiting for that one big perp, the rug pull, the Asian rug pull. The whales get together, and they tried, and it moved it, but not nearly as long and not nearly as big. And you can see when they did it, 5:20 at night, like Matthew talked about, when the big boys aren't trading anymore. 5:30 Eastern Standard Time is when the dump started, but by 6 it was bought up.
I didn't have access to my PC that night, but you guys were like all in the chat going, "Oh, who's selling?" And I'm like, I see it right there, 95.8, and it blew through that, but it bounced back to it, accumulated on 95.8, and then boom, right back to 98. It was just like magic. That I scalped. But it's pretty neat how this thing can just absorb such crazy liquidity runs and then just keep on trucking. And if 100.
I can tell you, I work in the world of that OTC business, especially in Latin America, and helping people down there with it. And you can't they're paying a 5% premium still on the OTC markets for large deposits of Bitcoin.
Oof.
So that means that they're seeing that 5% move still to the upside. That's why I keep on. That's why I say that number, the Michael Saylors of the world and these ETFs aren't buying at Coinbase on an exchange. They're using these OTC markets, but they're at historically low levels of liquidity, and it won't take many more of these billion-dollar buys by Saylor to make them have to buy on the open market.
Right, it'll just flip anyway. And that's, where we always go like, well, if 100, then 200, or, if 200, then 400. We see those doubles like all the time, and then come into Bitcoin, and it does it. Sometimes it takes forever to get there, but in the meantime, you can scalp every fib level in between 100 and 0. So
absolutely. I'm one of those guys that holds 80% and doesn't play around with it, but that other 20%, I'm constantly trading.
Absolutely. And I'm in the boat where I'm just like, I got sick of dealing with the taxes on it, but I can still go and grab those equities and do what I want with it.
That's what I love Will Matthews' product. Now I can do it on the equity side. That's
exactly.
What's been great about it. That's why, and that's the other part everyone has to realize. Why is it taking off so much? Why are these volumes you're seeing across, products like MSTU and BTCL and all these, is because those of us that were trading 5x on KuCoin and couldn't anymore have been waiting for these products. And It's a large swath of people. It's not a small amount. And there's a huge amount of volume. All you got to know is that the perp and derivative volume on crypto is 10 times the spot market. And that's where the money is.
Yes, sir. That's why I love trading at BTCL and BTCZ sometimes. I'm a stickler for like scalping the crap out of penny stocks because they're easy. And BTCZ is, I mean, you're gonna eventually have to reverse split that. I'm sorry, but the scalps on it are like quick and dirty. I mean, you can just go and bing, bing, one to the other. And like here, if you're looking for a reversion, if Bitcoin does pull back to 100 again, it'll pop right back up 540. It's just an easy 20-cent change. But percentage-wise, you grab enough of it, it's a quick scalp. So I've been throwing some blocks around in there. If you haven't noticed the tape, but it gets to be where where Bitcoin is pretty easy to chart, and then you can go into these leverage products. It's weird because you can sometimes see like a 2-second lag between moves where they've got to suddenly adjust the position, and that's what makes it so fun to trade. Is those leverage products just. It's almost like you get a cheat sheet, so to speak. You run a 5-second chart next to a 1-second chart if you want. It's hard to see these candles with that, but you can see the instant pop, and you get a quick leading signal, and bam, you're in. It's really fun to do. Can it be something long term where you can go and generate income on it? That's why we're talking about this. Is eventually you can start just sell to open options on whatever side you want, whatever capital you want to work with, and kill it because the derivative market's insane on those, and it's going to keep being insane on those. Right on. Last but not least, we had a couple more things to look back at. I'm still strongly bullish on Apple, and even though Kramer, gave us a couple Kramer bars, that's just opportunity, guys. I went and added some. I still have a 250, 260 half measure move target on that one, and I think if we follow through, and Apple's strength when it really shines, and typically it's right around this time of year, it usually tends to get pretty intense towards the middle of December here, and we got another week yet, but I got a hunch we've got a pretty good shot at hitting that 282 up here very quickly, and Q4 earnings I think might bring us there, and then we'll start accumulating at that range. I know Apple's kind of getting into actually implicating and running the AI structure on their new phone, but otherwise the 16 model is this pretty much the same as the last one.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed there is someone who had to just update his phone and do all that stuff is, Apple still gets paid by T-Mobile and all these companies for those phones, and they are pushing the heck out of the free phone right now. So maybe that gives it a push because people weren't buying them, so maybe if they're giving them away.
I'm like an Android guy to the core, but my kids noticed those free phones, and two of them converted to Apple already, man.
That's what I said. That's what I'm wondering. So I wonder if Apple gets a push out of that at the cost to T-Mobile and Verizon and the others.
I bet they do. I mean, they did their Black Friday thing. I mean, we're seeing a lot of that come through now, of course, but the follow-through is when you sell service,
yeah.
And take Elon Musk's approach on it. Yeah, you'll sell the car at a very low margin, but the services that attach to it, or the things you got to upgrade or whatever, that's where the money is. So we know what's up. Give the phone away and sell the service.
Yeah.
And, it works every time. And then in the meantime, you're starting to actually see some stuff being useful with the whole AI side of it with their new phones. And yeah, it's becoming a pretty cool thing. Price action wise, it's an easy chart to trade. I mean, Apple's probably one of my. I don't like to own it. Kramer says you got to own it. I love to just scalp it, but the moves are so easy to see on it. It's just me. I'm an Android guy, but I'll scalp Apple. Anyway, anything else we got popping up there? I know we were looking at pretty much everything we were kind of referring to as far as past few weeks. We've been kind of stuck in the same stuff, but there's some new stuff coming out that Matthew mentioned in the, where did that email go? Darn it. There it is. In the Heat Formula, if you guys subscribe to that, I'd highly recommend it. There's some great ideas in there. It wasn't just GDX and SMR. It was the other one. RGTI. What's that about?
Now, Rigetti's another quantum name. That's the one we're talking about before we went live that really ramped.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I bought IONQ and not Rigetti. I'd wait for Rigetti to come back down. We kind of look at Rigetti as more of a second order quantum name where, IONQ is more of a first order.
Right.
But obviously the market saw that slightly differently.
Yeah, I mean, boy, they jumped on that gun and shot it off, but now we're kind of in a big high and tight wedge here, way into the parabolic realm of, oh my God. But
yeah,
we could see it shake out and give us some good opportunities. So I'll definitely keep this on the watch list. I do like RGTI and IONQ. And then, if you tag it along with some of the other stuff, not just Google, but is Microsoft even in the game yet? AMD's kind of lagging, we know, and Mr. Soft is kind of hanging out, but it's still slowly moving into our targets. But we got to see a big push here, man, and something I think is kind of waiting for I guess either inauguration day or some sort of shoe to drop between now and then. But all this stuff in place, it's starting to all make sense and come together. Can we see that there's maybe a theme that we haven't quite noticed yet that could come from all that? I haven't seen anything yet, but I've been looking. I don't know where I want to see anymore. I've got like kind of spaghetti head on that. Too many irons in the fire moving in the same direction. Anything that kind of catches your interest to maybe look into distance, like maybe probably like the first couple weeks of Q1, we can start seeing some things really come into focus.
European cars. They've been beaten down. Volkswagen, Mercedes, True. BMW. Europe couldn't be any worse. So I am looking, probably in Q1 to start looking at stuff over there on the chip side, ASML, some of the European stocks. I mean, eventually they will cycle in. They've just been beaten to death.
I like the European defense stocks.
Yeah, absolutely going to be one. I actually like MSCI to play a wider swath of the European stocks because I don't have that great of a handle on one versus the other. I also do, like I said, I like China here going into the end of December. I do think we're going to see some sort of stimulus come out at a time when we have low liquidity. So to me, it's, you see one of the ones that hasn't jumped yet. Take a look at those. JD, Baidu. I like Baidu a lot. I think they're a little bit of a player there. CPNG is another one to keep an eye on.
European cars would be kind of. I was going to look at Stellantis, but I thought better of it but I don't like them as a company. But
that's one to stay away from personally.
Yeah. But they are a European company. But I can also see that when they start to take a dive, because all their stuff just, oh God, I just can't stand them.
They don't make a good car.
When we start to see things, market share drain away from them, then we start looking at BMW and some of the other better German cars, Audi and Volkswagen. Maybe even I don't want to say, I know Renault's kind of popular, but or Renault, if you want to say it correctly, but I see that Nissan was kind of looking at some issues, and they're very heavily tied with Renault. I wonder if they're going to pull away from each other, and that might be kind of a catalyst to kind of keep an eye on for the European market to maybe actually have some good sway in that, and that kind of makes sense to me. But I mean, then there's the big elephant in the room is Toyota, man. I'm a longtime Toyota fan for being a mechanic. It just kind of is by my nature. I love Toyotas, but I was able to trade this whole long move, and I pulled out of my position a little too soon when I was long in Toyota. I think I got out to 232, and it just shot up to 250. But the halfback is done, and we're accumulating. And I know that market share in the European car market is going to start to swing up, but Toyota's kind of right there with it. And hybrid technology has kind of been backburnerish for too long, and now it's starting to really take some leaps and bounds. And then the battery developments are really starting to come together for like that solid state battery stuff. wonder if the European car market is going to kind of get into that too. I don't like electric cars, but I do love hybrids. I think that's a solid idea. It makes the best of both worlds: fuel economy, economical operating, and at the same time, yeah, it's not as impactful on the environment as a full electric car, but in the long run, they pay off. I mean, I've got a Lexus hybrid with 230,000 miles on it. I'll drive that thing till it dissolves, you know?
But yeah, hybrids, as you know, Big Beat's a big fan too. Steve is in that world, and I can't argue it. As I moved from DC area, always lived in big cities on the East Coast. Now spend half of my time in farm country, Ohio. There aren't a hell of a lot of EVs out here, and there aren't any charging stations if you have one. So it becomes, we're not there yet. It's where I lived in DC, I just thought we were already there, because you drive down 95, every 5 miles is another supercharger. That's not the whole country.
And there's 20 Teslas zipping through traffic. Yeah.
Yeah, I see one a day here, where I used to have 7 neighbors that surrounded me that all had them.
Yeah. And then Nissan tried with the Leaf and all that stuff, and it's just the same boat. I mean, it's like it was too far, too fast, and too soon. And then
they didn't make nice cars. What worked, what happened was when Elon made Tesla, and it was actually a car people that had money wanted to own.
Exactly. And I can see that the automotive industry is it's been beat down, and it's I wanted to get out of it so bad from the service side of things, and then now I just trade it. But you still know the trends, and when you're mechanically inclined and have that background, you can kind of see what the future should be. And mechanics never liked engineers, but you go and you talk to anybody who's turned wrenches for long enough, and you can see the technology swing. I lean on hybrid 100%. I think that's probably the best thing to go. And then eventually, if you go to hydrogen-powered hybrid, I see a huge future in that, and Toyota's right on the edge of that. So, hydrogen power, zero emissions, pretty much your emission is water. And all you need is the infrastructure. That's the hard part, is the infrastructure, generating hydrogen, safely handling hydrogen, protecting it from crash damage, that type of thing, because it can really ruin your day when it is uncontrolled. And once they cross that hurdle, I think we're going to see a huge change in the whole automotive infrastructure and industry all at once. So that's kind of a theme that I'm keeping an eye on. So in the long run, I think the first couple of weeks of Q4, and then I think Trump doesn't necessarily lean on electric vehicles, but he does love Elon. Will Tesla make the leap into hybrid? That's another question.
I don't see him going backwards personally.
No, he's pretty stuck to his guns on that, but he has kicked the idea around a couple of times where he thought about doing hydrogen hybrids for a little while there, or at least hydrogen cell. So that's always kind of been something to watch, and I think that for me, moving into the Q1 theme, I think Toyota is going to start doing some really fun stuff. They've always kind of been a humble back burner outlier when it comes to business. They favor having competitors in the market because they feel that it keeps them in check for maintaining that quality control. Yes, we had a few issues with, between 2007 and kind of 2015, where they just had some quality control issues. Some of their, manufacturers for substructures were distributed a little differently in that time, and yeah, we started having some issues. But now I think they're coming off where the next leg up for Toyota is on the horizon very quickly. And a few other subsidiary companies too. So I'm keeping an eye on that.
Makes sense.
Right on. Anything else? We got like 4 minutes to kill.
Nothing from my side.
How do we run out of time like
nothing
that?
else from my side.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just keeping an eye on the stuff that's been gone over 100 times for us as far as the watch list here. But I think our call outs pretty much fall out exactly where they need to be. And we made a couple of price call outs today. If we hold 100% of those for 5 weeks in a row is pretty cool. We do that for you guys. So keep watching, keep subscribing, and tell your friends. We're we love being able to help as many people as we can with this stuff, and creative thinking, and not just technical analysis, but looking for way down the road type of stuff too. So we want to help everybody. All right, I guess probably wrap it, and then maybe next week we get a few more little quick scalps coming in, because I can see some volatility coming in next week. So stay tuned with that.
I'm sure there will be. Always is.
Good.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys.
We'll see you around.